Okay, my name is Mark Magruder. Welcome to my seminar tonight. I am going to teach on Social Security today, tomorrow, and for the future. I am a wealth manager with the Life Financial Group. I am an enrolled agent with Beacon Tax Services, and I'm a teacher at the Life Institute. One of those three areas, I'll be able to help you tonight. No, I'm really going to teach tonight, so I want you to understand some things about Social Security, and the reason you've logged in or you've signed into this webinar is to learn something about Social Security. Maybe you're reaching that age, or maybe somebody in your family is reaching that age, okay? I want you to get three takeaways tonight before I go into the slide presentation. Three takeaways tonight about Social Security. It is here to stay. Don't think it's going to run out. Don't think it's going to end. It's been around for 80 plus years. It's got a good system. Whenever it gets nervous or people get nervous and there's a possibility of running out of money, Congress finds a way to fund it. It's been around for 80 years. I suspect it'll be around for another 80 years. There's problems with Social Security when you start it too early. There's three problems that way. If you start it too early, you're going to make your Social Security taxable again if your earnings are just more than $32,000. So don't start it too early if you're still working. I don't want you to pay any more tax to the IRS than you legally, morally, or ethically have to. So remember, don't start it too early that you're already working, because you're going to pay tax on Social Security again. I'll go over that with you. Another problem with the Social Security starting too early, if you started at age 62, you're giving a permanent discount to your benefits that you would get every month. It's about an 8% raise every year from age 62 to age 70 that you would get if you wait to age 70. And I understand some people can't wait that long, and you'll need a personal calculation and a personal financial advisor to advise you on when's the best year to take that, or when your break-even year is. A lot of other factors there, but don't start it too early. And then remember that if you don't provide for your spouse, there's a plan we could put in place so you make sure you're providing the higher amount for your spouse. The odds of one of you, if you're age 65, the odds of a married couple, one of you reaching age 90 is greater than 50% now. So I want to make sure you take care of the spouse, no matter who lives longer, and we want to make sure that you're getting the maximum amount for the longest period of time. Okay, so let's move on. So here's my basic information: wealth manager, tax professional, Mark at thelifegroup.org. You can give us a call at our office address. Just look us up on the website, thelifegroup.org, and I'd be happy to answer your questions for you, okay? So Social Security then and now. I want you to look at this year for one thing, okay? 1940 is when it started, or that's when it really got into place. It really started in 1938. And here we are in 2020. Could be later by the time you look at this, this video. But in 1940, the payroll tax rate was only 2%. Now the payroll tax rate between employer and employee is 12.4%. Remember, I told you Congress finds a way to provide and pay for Social Security. So that's quite a hefty increase that you'd pay on your salary. The earnings cap back in 1940, the most you would pay tax on is $3,000 of your earnings. Now you'll pay tax on $137,000, and they raise that every year. There's been proposals to raise it to $400,000. But if they are taxing 12% on 137 or 2% on 3,000, you can see that the IRS has got, or Social Security Administration is getting a lot more money for it. Total beneficiaries in 1940 was only 222,000 people. When people reached age 65, the life expectancy was about 3 years. Now the life expectancy when somebody reaches age 65 is usually 80 or 85. And a married couple, one of them, like I told you, one of them reaching age 90 is pretty likely, greater than 50%. So we try to plan that cash flow for one person living into their 90s, okay? Now there's 69 million people that are beneficiaries of Social Security, so a lot more people receiving the benefits. So I forgot to ask, or forgot to please hold your questions to the end, especially if there's personal or individual questions, because I want to get to your individual questions that are more personal outside of a classroom setting, and I certainly don't want it recorded here tonight, okay? So thank you for understanding. The worker beneficiary ratio was 159 people to 1. So one person receiving it here, 159 people That's a big pyramid scheme, right? Now we have 3 to 1. It's a very narrow, ratio, okay? So how do they provide for that? Well, more people pay more money. So that's why we have the higher rate, okay? So it is a program that's going to be here then and now. It's going to be here for a while. Remember, the benefit back in 1940 was also $22. It's hard to live on $22 a month nowadays. So the average now is about $1,530 a month. You multiply that by 12 months a year, it's about $18,000 a year. You can get around $3,600, $4,000 if you maxed out your Social Security per year, but most of the people are averaging around $1,500 per month. So what is Social Security? Let's talk about the structure of Social Security and how it's been operating for many, many years, okay? Social Security is a government-sponsored program. So what that means is it has the full faith and credit of the U.S. government. I'm not going to get political here. I'm not going to favor one party over another, but I'm going to tell you there is a way to provide for people and the needy of our country, and they've been doing it for 80 years with the Social Security, and Medicare came in the 60s under the same plan. But I'm just talking about Social Security tonight, when to take it. It is a government-sponsored program. It's inflation adjusted. There's very few things in life that will always be inflation adjusted. Now, I know some years people are going to say, I didn't get any raise, or they raised my Social Security and they raised Medicare. It actually cost me money. But it is a program, and it's indexed to inflation, so you do get raises. When inflation was really high in the 70s and 80s, you were getting 6-8% per year. Recently, it's only been 1 to 2%, and some years 0. Okay, when inflation's low, they don't give you as big a raise, but it is inflation adjusted. Okay. And the last thing is a lifetime retirement income. Now, with pensions going by the wayside and not many companies offering a full lifetime pension after 20, 30 years of work, this is a very good program to make sure that you have some income stream in retirement. It is good for the general public because a lot of people don't save this way. And Social Security, you have to put that money into Social Security, whether your kids are sick, whether the mortgage is paid, whether you have a car payment or not. Social Security is taken out before you get your wages, so there is money there. I don't like that you only get a fraction of it back, and there's probably other ways to do it, but I'm not going to get political and talk about that today. And I'm going to talk about what your options are and what you can do today, or what you can do to delay your Social Security so you can take it later and get the most for your family, for your benefit as a family, okay? Let's continue on. So I know this is a little confusing too, but it talks about Social Security from going forward from 2020 up to 2093, okay? Around 2035, that's what this drop is right here, they suspect expenditures will be more than what they're receiving in. How's the government going to fix that? Remember, we talked about that already. The government's going to fix that either by raising the income tax rate, raising the base amount that you can tax, how much you have to pay on Social Security tax again. I don't know if you know this, but I'll get through this on my tax section. But you do have to pay a tax on your Social Security tax. It really is the most egregious tax law we have, because what is Social Security? You paid 7% of your pay, roughly 6.1, and your employer matched it 6.1. We send it to the government for 35 years or so, and they give you a fraction of it back, and then they tax you on it again if you earn too much income, okay? So that's why I don't want you to take your Social Security too early while you're earning other income, because you'll be taxed on it again. It's a tax on a tax. I don't like it either, but it's the way. One way that they saved the Social Security was in the 1980s, they started taxing 50% of your benefit, and then in the 1990s, they started taxing 85% of your Social Security benefit can be taxed again. Not 100%, but 85% of it can be taxed again. That's not an 85% tax rate. Your tax rate is your individual income tax rate. 85% is of the amount of the Social Security which can be taxed again. I'll go through that in the tax section. But what do we do to make sure we don't run out of money here? Well, payable benefits, scheduled benefits, they said they could reduce the benefits to 75% or 80% over time. They can increase the tax. There's also expenditures as a percentage of payroll. They can raise the amount of payroll from 12.4 up to 14, something like that, or at least each pay half. There's been proposals that the employer pays more The employer may pay 8.1 and the employee pays 6.1. That gets you up over the 14.2. Okay, so there's lots of ways to cover this shortfall right here, and this is a projection out to 2090. So if anybody plans to live for another 70 years that's filing for Social Security now, God bless you. You'll be 132 years old. Could happen, but that's a long plan. Make sure you're getting the maximum amount of Social Security you can get. All right. All right. So let's continue on. Social Security's financial condition may not be as dire as you think. That's the summary of this, okay? So for the 75-year projection, for 75 years now, we're going to talk about what they're going to do. The actuarial deficit is about 3.21%, okay? It compares to 2.78% last year, which is a 15% increase. So this number keeps going up when they look about the deficit, but they're looking at the deficit in 2035 to 2090. So that's a long period of time, and they have ways to fix that, and we've gone over that. I just want you to not panic and know that it's not as dire as you may think Social Security and it running out. Okay, so there's no rush to get in there. There will be Social Security there for you. Okay. So let's look at some taxes. Okay, I did this. I prepared a tax return here for you. It's called the 1040 Easy All. Everybody can do it. How much money did you make? Let's put 50,000 in there. And then send it to us, right? That's your tax. That's a little joke, by the way. Send it to us, right? Whatever you made, send it into the government. No, it's not quite that bad, right? So here's what a real tax return looks like, okay? And this is a big picture of the 2019 one. 2020 is out here soon, and of course this will be outdated in a year. They always update these and do new things, but this is what they're doing on the Social Security side of it. I zoomed in here so you could see Social Security benefits, okay? You see the Social Security benefits on line 5A? It's in that same column as tax-exempt interest, qualified dividends, IRA distribution, and pensions. On the next line is the next line over is the taxable amount. Some people may not be aware that even your Social Security can be taxed again. So, and all you need to make as a married couple is $32,000 here in other earnings or wages and things like that. So if you earn $32,000 here as a married couple, you're going to start paying tax on the Social Security again. I think it goes up to $49,000 that you'd pay 85%. So if you receive that $18,000 here too early and you made a $50,000 wage, 85% of that's about $16K that you're going to have to pay tax on again, ordinary income tax. So you're going to owe $1,600 probably to $2,400 in individual income tax just for taking your Social Security early. My question to you would be, why are you taking your Social Security early? Some people say, well, because it's going to run out, and they've been saying that for 40 years. I know I was told that in the 80s and 90s that get your Social Security as early as you can because it's going to run out. Well, here we are in the 2020s, and we're still in Social Security, and there's still money there. And if it went as it is right now, it would run out in 2035. Wouldn't even run out, as I showed you. It would just be reduced by that 15%. So don't panic. Don't take it early merely because they're going to run out of money. The other thing I tell people, if you take Social Security at age 70 and die at age 72, do you care that you didn't get the maximum amount out of Social Security? You're not even with us any longer. Your spouse may care because then they're going to lock in that lower amount at age 62. So remember, when one of the first spouse passes away, the remaining spouse only gets to keep the higher of the two Social Securities. So you don't get both incomes. You want at least one of those Social Securities to grow to that maximum amount at age 70. So that person who lives to age 90 would get the larger amount for a longer period of time. Okay? All right. Let's continue on. I just want you to be aware of the taxability of Social Security. It's not free. It's a tax on a tax. It is egregious, but it is what it is. Okay? So you got to choose the right age to file is more important now than ever because you want to make sure where else can you get that 8% guaranteed. I use 8% as a number, but it's a little bit higher because you earn 8% on each other, so it's really compounded, okay? So for a 65-year-old couple of average health, there's a 50% chance, I went over this already, that one of them will live into their 90s. And there's a 1 in 4 chance that one of them will see age 97. So claiming Social Security too early would lock them into smaller payouts for potentially 30 years or more. You can see the credits here given to these Social Security scholars, okay? So if you are in good health and you can afford to wait, my advice is that you should wait as long as possible. The greater is your guaranteed lifetime income, the easier it will be to organize your retirement budget, and the less you will worry about living too long. Longevity risk is a real problem now. People living too long, having too much of a life and not enough savings, and you need this income stream to get you to the 90s, okay? So now I'm going to go through some hypothetical illustrations. Sarah's age was date of birth is 6/5/58. Her full retirement would be 66 and 8 months. Well, that's the other thing I forgot to say was that when I was in college, they said full retirement age was 65. Then they made it 66. Now they go 66 in so many months. And by the time I retire, it'll be 67. Don't be surprised if our kids, their full retirement age is 69. Maybe the bonus year would be 72, and their first year could be 65. That's another way they can start saving Social Security as well, because they can push off the first year people getting it, if they're healthy, getting it to age 65. Now, I do understand there's Social Security disability as well as Social Security. Our talk tonight is more about electing when to take Social Security if you're healthy, and especially if you're still working. I'm really big on not taking it while you're still working so you can not pay tax on it. So look at this example again. Her full retirement benefit is 2432, and her life expectancy is a whopping 95. She must be on no prescriptions. That's one of the questions I ask people when they come in to see me. Are you on any prescription medications? Do you have any diagnoses like cancer or heart disease or things like that? Those are factors that must be factored into when to take Social Security. So if she took Social Security at age 62, the estimated monthly benefit is $1,411. If she got that amount till age 90, she would get $737,000. Seems like a lot, right? And really, all she would need at age 62 is an annuity of about $365 that would pay this amount per month and make sure that she wouldn't run out of her money. Okay? Age 66 and 8 months, though, look at how this jumps up. It jumps up to $2,432. I'll use by age 80 in this example. She would have received $474,000. And you would need an annuity about the same amount because she's dying 10 years younger. So we just don't know when people are going to die. I tell people my job's really easy if people tell me how much money they need and when they're going to die, and it's just a simple calculation, right? Of course, nobody knows when they're going to die. I just try to plan for 30 or 40 years, depending on how healthy that person is. And if it's a married couple, I definitely plan for a minimum of 30 years when they're age 65, because the odds of one of them reaching over age 90 is greater than 50%. Remember that, okay? So if she waited to age 70, look at this huge difference here. Another $1,100 a month. She would receive over $1 million if she got it all the way through age 70, and it would be a $700,000 in current value lump sum she would need for an annuity to pay her that kind of distribution. So that it's very important to let Social Security grow. That's what we're showing in this example. Okay, again, hold your questions, but we'll move on. So remember, filing at age 62 reduces your benefit by 25 to 30%. Full retirement age starts to increase from age 66 to 67 for those born in 1955. When you're born after that year, then it raises to 67 for everybody born after that, okay? All right. So this is a really nice tool, and I wanted to thank Franklin Templeton for doing the PowerPoint presentation for me. They do a thing called a Social Security Optimizer. It's their proprietary software. If you know a Franklin Templeton agent, you can work with them or just give us a call. I gave you my information there ahead of time. And if you want to set up a meeting with me, I'm happy to do that, because you don't want to discuss tonight, well, I think I'll get $2,000 in Social Security, and the other person next to you is $3,600, and I don't want to create that in a teaching scenario here. So you want to sit down with somebody who can go through an optimizer like this and say, what would it look like? what would you like to do? Do you want to do a new scenario? Do you want to do your last scenario? So I would save it for you. New scenario, last scenario, or a quick start guide. So you tell me what you need to get done. I plug in this information here. I print out a report for you, and it's new with the benefit replacement is turned on. It calculates the assets needed to replace benefits lost after the date of the first person in the married couple. This is very important because when one person dies, if you have equal Social Security amounts and you're each getting that amount that Sarah was getting, $3,500, where's that other $3,500 going to come from? So that's what we have to have a plan for the rest of your assets. And a tool like this is very good to maximize your strategy, your claiming strategy that could potentially provide maximum cumulative benefits, or customize a strategy based on the input of your client's specific situation. Well, why would I use that? Right, because you want to make sure that you're putting in a personal scenario. A spouse has cancer, has already been treated. Their life expectancy might not be as long, and they may be the higher earner, okay? So it may be let that earnings go and try to accumulate more, and if they pass away, the surviving spouse gets to keep the higher of the two, okay? So make sure you do something like this with a financial professional, Social Security Optimizer. Again, thank you, Franklin Templeton, for putting that together, allowing me to use that for my client's benefit. And if you want this done personally for you, I can't do it here and say, you give me your earnings and you tell me yours. Plus, I'll need your Social Security number. We look it up on the Social Security website. It's very secure. And then I would also know your amount expected at age 62, 67, and 70. And then I could show you the difference that you could calculate easily to push it to age 70. If you're healthy and you can work, I would let your Social Security grow until that age 70. And most of the time, the Social Security Optimizer agrees with me, except when I change the life expectancy. I don't see that on the page here. But if you put your life expectancy at age 75, of course you should take your Social Security earlier. Anybody could figure that out as well. Okay, so let's move on. We'll deal with Social Security Optimizer after the class then tonight? Okay. So if you are under full retirement age and want to stop receiving your Social Security, you can do this. They used to let you, it's funny, one of the ways they changed Social Security to save it from itself, you used to be able to take Social Security at age 62, decide at age 70 if you wanted to redo, all you had to do was give the money back that you took out. No growth, no gain. You could give away exactly what you received. You could have put that in investments for 8 years and you just give it back to the Social Security office what they paid you, no time value of money. Well, who figured that out? So now they don't let you do that. They let you do a 1-year look back and a 1-year do-over. So you must do this within 12 months if you're going to restart it. So I've had people do that where they restarted the Social Security, they filed early. I didn't know any of this stuff, Mark, that you were teaching me. How do I give it back? Well, you give them a check back and they'll restart your Social Security and they'll start accumulating it from when you first received it as if you never received it. If it's been 2 years or 3 years or 4 years, you can still turn it off, but you can't go backwards any longer. You just turn it off and let it accumulate from that point on, which is a good plan too. So some people come to me and started it at 62, they're 65, they went back to work, they realize it's taxable again. What can we do? Let's turn it off for a bit, let it grow by that 8% a year, at least you'll get some kind of raise, okay? Think about that too. So you can do a request for a withdrawal of your application if you've already filed for it. You want to repay all the benefits to the Social Security, I touched on that. And you also want to repay the Medicare premiums too, because a lot of times they come out of, they're deducted from your Social Security checks as well, okay? So make sure that if you're going to redo your Social Security, that you get all these parts and working parts in order and get it fresh start from when you're 66 to age 70. At least you'll get that 8% raise for 4 years, okay? All right, moving on. If you are at least full retirement age, you can suspend your benefit. This is what I was talking about. Simply contact the Social Security office and request this. You don't have to repay the stuff that you've already gotten. You just stop it. And then careful, anyone receiving a benefit tied to your record will have their check suspended too. So if there is a disability payment or an underage payment or something like that, you'd have to make sure that they know they're going to be suspended as well. Okay? That's not the divorced spousal one. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So let's talk about suspending benefits at full retirement age. This is another This is going to be another example, and I kind of have to read it line by line. I apologize for it, but you can see it on your screen. He's a former greenskeeper, Archie. Edith is a former housekeeper. Archie's age 63. He was laid off when the golf course where he worked for 20 years was turned into a shopping mall. We've heard this story before. He started taking Social Security then at age 62. Why? Well, he was out of a job. He didn't think he'd work again. Edith was a math teacher at a community college until having kids. 6 months after Archie was laid off, she went back to work teaching high school. So here's a little bit of a background. Thanks to Edith's job, they are more than meeting their current expenses. She loves teaching and getting out of the house and plans to work until mandatory retirement at age 70. Archie wishes he hadn't started Social Security early because his benefit is a lot smaller. They're worried about making ends meet when Edith retires, okay? So let's go to the next page. What could Archie do? So Archie, at full retirement age, he's getting $1,800 a month, right? Cost of living increase is about 3% a year. This is, if he started at age 62, he would get $1,385. But if he waits to age full retirement, that's almost a $450 increase, and he gets increased by cost of living. At age 90, his total received will be a huge amount, $701, if he pushed it off to full retirement age, okay? So what a recommendation may be to do is to suspend his Social Security at age 66 to 70. He would get nothing during this time. He would restart it at age 70. If he goes to age 90, he's got another $100,000 here. It's $100,000 more in his lifetime just by turning it on at age 70, stopping it for that period of time, and then turning it on at age 70. So there is a possibility he could stop it, turn it back on. And this is a situation we deal with quite a bit. People take it too early. They're paying tax on it again, like I showed you on the tax return, and they wish they hadn't done that. And I can show them how to get some more money that way, okay? Let's continue on. Another example. This is for a divorced person, okay? Liz is 62. Richard's 62, about the same age. She's been a mother most of her life. He's been a midshipman. They're married at age 20. This is a funny scenario. Divorced at age 32. What can they do? Well, before deploying to Vietnam, Richard was discharged from the Navy after mysteriously falling off the USS America. When they divorced after 12 years of marriage, there were 2 kids and a mortgage. Richard headed to Hollywood, where his charms resulted in a powerful professional wife. Despite alimony, Liz has struggled to make ends meet while raising the kids. Her 4 subsequent marriages, I told you this is a funny one, her 4 subsequent marriages lasted from 2 to 8 years each. What are Liz's options? Remember, there are some divorce benefits here we want to talk about as well, okay? So Liz, divorced 5 times, she's currently single. She's her age on 1/4/16 was 62. Her full retirement amount, benefit amount, would be about $800 a month, okay? The minimum length of marriage to any person to be considered using their Social Security benefits is 10 years, okay? The maximum benefit is 50% of the ex-spouse's full retirement benefit. That's important. So all of her smaller marriages really aren't going to make a difference here. It's the one marriage that lasted for 12 years. The earliest age to provide for the reduced benefit, again, is age 62, or she can receive the higher amount of her own benefit. She can decide which one's higher. Well, it'll calculate for you. The key concepts here is ex-spouse must have started Social Security if you were divorced at least 2 years. So if Richard didn't start it at 62, then neither could Liz. If he starts it at 66, then Liz can get her benefit. She can always get her own, but if she's going to collect his higher amount, half of his, she better wait till he files, okay? If you have more than one ex-spouse, the benefit is based on the ex with the higher benefit. In most cases, you lose the benefit if you remarry. So they want to make, if she's not married at this time, remember she's currently single. So if she marries again, you lose that benefit if you remarry, okay? A little bit confusing, a little bit more options than you might have thought you had, but it's the 10-year period. They don't want everybody to get married 5 years and on 5 years and off 5 years. That's the example of this being funny. That doesn't really happen too often. Divorced 5 times and currently single, okay? But talk to me about your own personal situation. I'll be happy to calculate that for you, okay? So here's what we decided. Is Liz eligible for a benefit based on her own work record? Yes, of course. Everybody always is. Always. Okay? You can always take your own. How many ex-husbands does she benefit for? 1, because why? The 10-year rule. She's got to be married 10 years. Can Liz choose to which benefits she wants? No. The Social Security office will calculate that for you. You get the higher amount, basically. You don't have a choice and say, I don't want anything to do with my husband, even if I make $1,000 more a month. They will give you the higher amount. Your former husband doesn't, or spouse doesn't have to know that. You just get the higher benefit. Can you receive your own reduced benefits and switch to a full 50% divorce spousal? No, they're not going to give you the lower amount. You're going to get the higher amount. It's a calculation. Take it. Okay? If Liz needs a larger Social Security benefit, what could she do? This is the biggest thing anybody can do, is delay claiming until your full retirement age, okay? That's the biggest thing anybody can do, is if you want a bigger monthly amount, is delay taking it. Okay, we'll continue on. Here's a funny one too. Remarry. She can do that. Make sure the benefit earned by husband number 6 is larger than Richard's, okay? If that's the reason you're going to get married, but that's a funny joke. Okay, so remember, here's something else that changed too. Again, they keep making this funnier and funnier for me. So on a sailing ship to Catalina Island with his second wife, Richard falls overboard and drowns. The Hollywood elite are devastated. Liz has a couple new options now. Why? Because Richard's passed away. What are her options now? So, she's currently single still. She's still 62. She could get to $800 a month. The earliest age to file for widow's benefit is now 60, so she's past that age. The minimum length of marriage is 9 months now because of the time of death of her divorced husband. So she only has to qualify for a length of marriage of 9 months. The maximum benefit is 100% of the deceased benefits at the time of the death. So we'd be able to get 100% of his. And the impact on benefit received by other widower spouses, none. So they've calculated all this in for you, and you have to take the higher amount, and I would just take it. What options does Liz have? She's going to file for the widow's benefit at 62. She can do option B and file it at 62, or she files for her own. She's going to choose the higher one. She's not even going to choose it. They're going to give it to her, okay? Let me draw on this for you. So they're going to give you the higher of the two. Keep going on. She switches to her own benefit. No. Continues receiving the widow's benefit. No. She switches to 100% of the widow's benefit. She gets the most amount, right? At age 70, she would get 1,014 of her own. Switches to her own benefit at 1,302. I'm sorry, that would be the widow's benefit here at 1014. Switches to her own benefit at 1,302. Or this is the huge one, star, star, star. Choose this one. She won't even choose it. She will get 3,370 if she waits to age 70, as we've been saying from the beginning. Always wait if you can. Now, if she can't wait, we have to calculate in where she'd need the income from, if she has other savings, if she has other 401ks or things like that. Those are other options too. So the key concepts here, the widower surviving divorced spouse retains the ability to restrict benefit to just spousal amount. If you outlive multiple spouses, your benefit will be based on the highest amount available. Any Social Security benefit received prior to full retirement can be reduced by the earnings test. I haven't talked about that yet. But only your own benefit earns credits if you postpone filing past full retirement age. Okay, so you want to make sure you get those credits. You're allowed 4 credits a year for working the so many quarters. You need 40 quarters, 10 years of work basically, and those are your earned credits. Okay, you want to postpone that or make sure that you have those earned credits, retirement credits. Even if you don't have them while your spouse is alive, you can get them even in your 60s or 70s. Okay, all right. Let's continue on. Whoop. Sorry about that. Okay, so here's another hypothetical illustration, okay? This is really funny. They use these funny examples, I think, so you remember them, okay? Clem is 62 years old and married Goldie at 40. Wonderful. Good for you, Clem. He's a partner in an advertising firm. She's an executive assistant. Currently, her occupation is soccer mom with 3 kids. 1, 2, 3. 2 from her previous marriage, Dorothy, age 17, Max, age 14, and Clem Jr., age 6. Clem's second hip surgery was a wake-up call. He decided to finally retire from a lifelong career in advertising. Thanks to the sale of his partnership stake, he is set for life in terms of income. Nonetheless, he still wants to be sure he receives everything he is entitled to in terms of Social Security. What could he do? So he could start full retirement at age 66 and 8 months. He would get a benefit of about $2,500. Clem files for Social Security to begin the month he turns 64. He didn't wait that long, so he's getting a reduced amount, $1,793. The family benefit, because of having children younger than age 18, he would get a Goldie benefit, a Dorothy benefit, a Max benefit, and a Clem Jr. benefit. That's a lot of money for having those benefits. Good for you, Clem. $36.65. Again, he doesn't have a choice. Take the higher amount. The impact on the family when Dorothy turns 18, at full retirement age, there's an impact when Dorothy turns 18 that he's going to lose one of these, okay? So at full retirement age, I'm sorry, I should cross out Dorothy's amount, that one. At full retirement age, Clem begins consulting. He suspends his Social Security benefit so that he can earn those extra credits. Remember the retirement credits that you get, the direct retirement credits, so he can get enough credits to get more earnings in his Social Security. All right, we'll show you how that works here. I keep doing that. Sorry, people. Okay, so let me make sure yeah. So if he loses the one benefit when Dorothy turns 18, that's the summary here. That's what happens. If the kids start getting 18 and moving out of the house, he loses their benefits, okay? That's the summary there. So remember, if you start your Social Security too early, the 3 big takeaways I want you to take from this is that you want to make sure you take your Social Security when you need it, not because you think it's going to run out. Social Security will be here. Don't take it too early because you're going to get taxed on it again. You only need to earn about $17,000, and it changes every year as well, before they start reducing your benefits. If you take it at age 62 and you earn $20,000 a year, they're going to reduce your $1,500 a month to $1,300 anyway because you're earning too much money. So don't take it early. They reduce your benefits, they tax you on it again, and you lock in that lower amount. I don't want you to do that, and I'll show you numbers to support that. If you can get past the fear that it's going to run out, that I got to get my Social Security now because it won't be here in 10 years. They've been saying that for decades, and it's been here around for 80 years. I hope I showed you that it will be here for another 80 years. Some way, shape, or form, it'll be here, okay? Remember to protect your spouse. Should that spouse live too long, husband or wife, it doesn't matter. One of the person's going to outlive the other. Very seldom are both of them going on the same day. It could happen in a car accident, I imagine, but we're here to talk about longevity risk and reduce that. So there's a 50% chance of people reaching age 90 or more if they're married if they've been married their whole lives at age 65. I hope I said that the right way. But a married couple, longtime married couple at age 65, the odds of one of them reaching age 90 is greater than 50%. The other fear I wanted people to get by is that the baby boomers now are all taking Social Security. 10,000 people every day are reaching age 65. You've heard those numbers. Don't worry too much about that also, because believe it or not, there's more millennials than there are baby boomers. They just aren't earning the money yet. So in another 5 or 10 years, when they're in their 40s and they start earning the higher wages and get closer to 50, and the baby boomers will be dying off, they will be able to support Social Security that way as well. And they may have to pay more of a tax to do it as well. Okay, so here's your test for the day. Your Social Security benefit is based upon how many years of earnings? I think I talked about this. If not, I'll give you the answer. 35 years of earnings. So how many people remember what they were earning 35 years ago? It's very hard to remember, but 35 years ago, we might have been earning $10,000 or $12,000. Every earnings that you're making now is replacing those old years, so it's helping your Social Security. So if you could work from age 62 to 70, you're replacing the first 8 years you were working most likely, and that was 35 years ago. So even if you can remember what you were making, it's probably a lot lower than what you're making now, okay? You must file for Medicare at 65, even if you are still working, or your premiums will go up. Right. It's false. Your premiums won't go up, but you should file anyway. I always call my clients 4 months before their 65th birthday, just to let them know I'm on top of it. And they can't even file till 3 months before. But you want to file it within 3 months of when you turn 65. That's your Medicare. And I don't think I talked about Medicare at all tonight, so I have to ask them why that's even in there. But if you knew that answer, good for you. If you owe IRS money, they can confiscate your entire Social Security check. So I'm not going to file Social Security because the IRS will be after me. And that, of course, is false as well, right? They can take or tax some of it, or they can go after some of it. They can go after your any refunds that you have on your tax return, but they're not going to confiscate your whole Social Security. The government's not out to get you and to make sure you don't survive. They want you to get this program, but of course you owe your taxes. So if you have a past tax issue and you haven't had to pay your tax in a while, that's a whole different issue than Social Security and Medicare. Still stick with our plan, okay? If your full retirement age is 66 and you delay claiming Social Security until age 70, your benefit will be about how much higher compared to 62? Remember the 8% rule? Anybody do math? 8% times 8 years? Right. 76%. I know it's not exactly right. But that's because that first 8% earns 8%, and the second two 8% earn 8%, and it's earning on earnings on earnings, okay? It's like compounding. So that way you're getting about 76% more by waiting to age 70. There's not any other investment I know that's going to guarantee that for 8 years, and I know annuities give you some type of guarantee, but not that type of return. They're usually in the 2 to 3% range per year, and annuities have their place. If you need a cash flow in retirement and you need something to as a stopgap to give you an income stream for a little while you let your Social Security grow, there are plans for that. We can do things for you. We can put plans into place to make sure you don't run out of money. And even more importantly, is to make sure your spouse doesn't run out of money, because remember, you only get to keep one of the two Social Securities, the higher amount. So I have two dilemmas when I do some cash flow in retirement planning for people. If they both have a high earnings and they're making $3,500, $4,000 a month, what do you do when the one $4,000 drops off? If you start your Social Security at age 62 and one person's always earned most of the earnings, the other person stayed at home, you started it too early. That person's still dependent on that money when that first person dies. So we want to make sure it grows as much as it can. So sometimes I turn them off for people or tell them to turn them off. And sometimes I tell them to take it early because of a cancer diagnosis or something like that. But that's where we get into our personal meetings and we do the Social Security Optimizer and we look at your actual earnings and your full retirement benefits on the Social Security website. If you need help finding that website, get in touch with me, okay? Okay, moving on. A divorced spouse can get benefit based upon the earnings record of his or her ex, even if their ex is not filed. Of course, that's true. Whoop, I already gave you the next answer. Sorry about that. So that's true. You can file it. The other spouse doesn't even have to know you're filing it, okay? So this answer I gave you ahead of time. If you wish you had filed sooner, you can apply today and request a lump sum payment for the amount you wish you received up to that point. Maybe I didn't cover that. But let's say you wanted to start filing your Social Security 6 months ago and death in the family, you were traveling or something like that. You can ask for it to be retroactive, but they'll only let you get that lump sum for 6 months, okay? So that might have some tax benefits for you. As a tax person, I love keeping as much money from the IRS, remember, legally, morally, and ethically, but they make the rules, we play the game. If I can have you file for Social Security for 6 months retroactive, but push it all to one tax year, that's a good thing to do as well. But remember, the next year, taxes will be a little higher. It's always good to push your taxes later. But if you need a lump sum and you wish you had started it or you got a diagnosis of cancer, we can start that 6 months or 6 months retroactive and get you a lump sum, okay? If you start disability benefits before your full retirement age, your benefits will be reduced. True or false? That's false, right? Disability is is totally separate from Social Security, and one will turn off and one will turn on. So you can file for Social Security disability at any age you're disabled, really. And I know people who get it in their 40s. If they have a stroke and they need it, that's what it's there for. It's to protect people from being destitute or being dependent on the government. And you pay tax dollars for this, so you might as well use it. So if you start disability benefits before retirement age, your benefits will be reduced. That's false. To receive a widow's benefit or widower's benefit, you have to be married to your spouse for at least 9 months, provided you were married at the time of their death, right? Remember that 9-month year when our Hollywood star died? It was a 9-month rule, but they have to be married to that person at the time of their death, and you have to be married for 9 months. So they have certain rules to make sure people are at least married for a period of time, and they're not just getting married like that example with 6 or 7 marriages. That's not what Social Security was designed for. It's to really protect. Originally in the 30s, it was to protect the non-working spouse, so they had some benefit when their spouse passed away, and it's done very well for that period of time. It didn't go bankrupt like they said it would in the 50s, 60s, or 70s. It's been here another 50 years after that, so I would trust that it's going to be here for another 50 or 80 years. And then if we have any further questions, I can take them after the meeting tonight. Remember, set up an appointment with the Life Financial Group. Look me up online. Maybe you'll see at the end of this, they'll publish the information for my contact again. That would be good. And if you have any personal questions about your own Social Security calculations, you want to sit down and meet with a financial professional, we're glad to help you do that. I can do it on a phone call, on a Zoom meeting, or I can do it in person. We'll just have to work that out, okay? Have a great day. It was wonderful talking with you. Bye-bye.